This is Michelle. I'm from McTish, and I'm just going to run you through some of the features in Outlook that some of you may know about, some of you may not, and see if they can help you in any way, make your job a little bit easier in working with your email. If you have to treat emails as a record, for instance, how you'd be able to save things in and out of a record system using a plugin, plus just some general really cool Outlook things, and then some fun things at the end that you can, I think they're fun. Everyone likes some, well, not everybody, but I do. I love software that I can try and test, and I'll show you some of those as well. So I'm going to just pop out of this presenter screen at the minute and jump into Outlook. And here I am. Okay, so I'll just actually minimize this to show you some of the cool things that we have. So if you've got your normal screen and you're working every day, so some people like using the mouse, some people like using shortcuts. I'm a little bit of both, but one of the cool things I really like is if you are working in a document and you need to quickly jump into Outlook, you have the ability in Outlook to create an email from what they call a jump list, which is, if you have a look on my screen, the icon at the bottom, all I did is right click on that icon, and I can from there click a new email, a new appointment, create a meeting, add a task if you use Outlook for tasks, and that is how, right click on here, being able to create email, appointment, meeting, and contact. It's pretty quick to just click on new email message and jump straight in and create a message. So instead of having to go into Outlook, click on new mail message, and so you've pretty much gone down to one click and you're into Outlook straight away. I know I love that feature, and I know I always forget it exists. So that's actually what they call a jump list. I think once you start using it, I've tried to get into using it the last couple of days. It's really good to be able to quickly get in and drop someone an email, which is quite powerful. I'm just going to go into Outlook now. So I'm using Outlook 365, so this will also work for Outlook 2016, and some of the features I'll show you actually work in 2013 as well. Outlook 2010 does have some of these features, and you get to them in a similar way, so you can adapt them. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. One of the cool things is, I'm using a demo mailbox at the moment, is the ability to categorize emails by color. If you work in a team, in a large team, and have input into quite a few things, maybe projects, or you may work for a couple of managers who you want to be able to filter information by color. The other thing is also grouping information that starts identifying things by color. You can actually create tags that have color in them. And that's up the top here. If you have a look on the top right, under the word tags, if you can see my mouse going over like that, if you drop down on categories, there are some categories, one, that are already in here that are being used by me for filing. You can set your own categories, you can add your own color, you can rename them. So if you wanted to use the blue one, you could, if I come in, I can set quick clicks to that as well. If I went and looked at my all categories for a minute, here's my blue. If I click on that, I can create a new one, I can delete it, I can change the color of it if that's what you wanted. If I have a look at here, filed to multiple, so that is something I use where I file things to several different spots, which is great. So the ability to actually use a color, I'm going to attach something. I'm going to go blue for now and say okay. If I wanted to name it, I can undo it as well. I can rename it. It just seems to be playing around with me a little bit today. The ability to rename it is actually normally found in all categories. As you can see, here's my blue. My rename for a minute is, and I do think it's because I'm in a demo environment, a demo email, so I may not have the right permission in inverted commas to do that. So if I was in my own email, which is up here, it would allow me to do the rename of calling it, like, manager or project name, for instance, which is actually pretty good. I don't know if that's something that people will find useful. Now, I For those of you who may not know, I am based in Melbourne. Now, I don't know where everybody else is based, but my head office is in Brisbane. And sometimes, as you all know, Brisbane doesn't have daylight saving. So sometimes the time zones are going to become an issue for any of the meetings that I may have, one to attend if I'm up in Brisbane, or if I'm doing an online meeting with someone and they invite me to a meeting and my mailbox might be a little bit out. Outlook has a feature which allows you to show a second time zone. So if you travel for work, or if you're in a business that actually has colleagues overseas, you can show a second time zone. And so I'll just show you where that is. If I click on File, up the top left-hand corner here, go into File. And if I go into Options, and if I go into Calendar, I'm just going to come down to the bottom here. Here it is. You have the option to pick a second time zone and display it, so you can show the second time zone. Where this becomes really awesome is when you're in Outlook and you go to create a meeting, you can select the time zone that you want the meeting to be held in. It will give you what the time is locally, and it will give the people that you're inviting what the time is. And if I just drop this down so you can have a look, it is worldwide, which is great, obviously. Perth, for instance, if you have colleagues in Perth, rather than remembering what your time zone difference is, you can actually set a meeting for Perth time. Perth people love this. And why? Because then they actually can say to people, you're inviting me to a meeting at 4 a.m. and I won't be in the office, which is really cool. And also for you, you don't have to try and think about what time it is in your local zone. We have this enabled in our office. We have this enabled for me and for anyone else if they need to specifically see what the time is for me in Brisbane, for instance. Luckily at the moment it doesn't apply, but eventually it will, and at least I won't have forgotten that there's a slight difference in the Brisbane time versus my Melbourne time. Not by much, but there can be. So once you've enabled that, you can give it a label to say, colleagues. You can then tick show a second time zone here. You can put a new label in. So I've got my Brisbane time zone, and I'll pick let's pick somewhere cool. Havana, let's pick that. And I can swap my time zones. So if I can then say, well, make my time zone, I'm in Havana, lucky me, here I am. And I can make that my time zone that I use all the time in Outlook, if that's what you want. Good for if you do travel a lot, or if you have other colleagues who travel a lot. Very powerful to be able to have that second time zone. Alrighty, one of the other, as I say, I'm going to go through, there's quite a few things in Outlook that are cool. So I've picked some of the ones that I've used in the past, or that a lot of people tend to use. Most people use this one, and that is flags, because it's normally the one that people see because it's here in your mailbox view normally. So I can tick on that to be flagged. Here it is. You go, well, what are my options for flags? And again, if you come up the top right-hand side here under tags, there's follow-up. And if I drop that down, you actually have the options to change when the follow-up is. So by default, it's on today. But if I wanted to customize one, or if I wanted to make it for tomorrow, I can clear a flag, which is as simple as just clicking on that. So this one means flag as a to-do item, and it will put it in your to-do list. But if I come up here, I can say flag that to next week. The flag's slightly different. What you do is you have a look up the top here in the email itself, where it's got up here where the name is. Follow up. If I'm starting it on Monday the 6th of August, it'll be due by Friday the 10th of August, because I said follow this up from next week. So it's going to give me a reminder to say you have this follow-up set. Again, if you want to clear it, you just come in here and you can say clear it. You can mark it as complete, which is actually good. You can add a reminder to it. So if you, instead of just having the flags appearing in a list, you can get it to send you a reminder like it does when you've got an appointment in Outlook in your calendar. It will send you a reminder to say, hey, by the way, you flagged this to be followed up next week. So that could be quite a beneficial thing if you just want flags and not necessarily colors, depending on how you like to work. They can pretty much do a very similar thing. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Now, the next one I'm going to cover off on is delayed sending. So if you have an email that you don't want to send immediately, you can defer delivery to a specified time. So if you've written an email in the morning and you only want to send it in the afternoon, and a lot of the time people use this feature so that if they send it late evening, when people come in the next morning, it's one of the first emails that's sitting in their mailbox for everyone to see. We know how many emails come in and out of your mailbox every day. If you have an email that's quite important and you want it to be one of the first emails people see when they come in, for instance, like under today, or it might come up saying, yesterday, and we'll have it nice and bold for everybody, you can use delayed sending. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly create an email. Right. I'm just going to send it to one of my colleagues. Okay. So what you do is you type your email up, which is all done here. I'll make it nice and big so everybody can see it. Here's my email, and I'm just going to say I'm testing this. Okay. Once I've got my email up, I select options. And here under more options, I have delayed delivery. I also have some other things that I'm going to cover off in a minute, which is also send replies to, which is good. So if I go delayed delivery, here I come up with a properties window. Here's my delivery options. Do not deliver before, and if I've said today, at 5 o'clock. Right. Save a copy of the message, which you can actually select that it doesn't do that. Sometimes people will select that if you are sending on behalf of someone else and you don't need to save a copy. Also, sometimes people untick that is if the email's going to, in this case, I'm only sending it to Harmony, but if I was sending it to an all company email address, you're going to get it as well. You're going to get that email delivered to your mailbox as well if you're part of the all company group, for instance, okay? If I've set this up, set it up by time, have it sent to, save copy of message, everything's fantastic. When I go close, these features will save, do not deliver before 5 o'clock, and Harmony will get that message at 5 o'clock, right? So if I close that for a minute and go send, this is in Mailbox. This is something I'll show you right at the end as well, where it's saying, are you sure you want to send this email to Harmony? I went, yes, I do. Thanks very much. And it goes off to Harmony. Now, Harmony should not get that message before 5 o'clock. All right. One of the other features that I mentioned there, and I'm just going to pick on Harmony all the time today, is send replies to. If you are writing an email on behalf of somebody else or on behalf of a project team, for instance, you may want all replies to go not to you, but to somebody else. This is where you can say in here, again, under more options, direct replies to, have replies sent to, and I can then get rid of my name because I don't want the replies to come back to me. I may want them to go to this address, different address, whatever it might be, a project address, for instance. You can then have the replies redirected to somebody else. This is also sometimes quite effective if you're on holiday or going on holiday. You send a whole lot of emails out, and the replies that come back is information that has to be taken care of while you're away. You can actually then have replies sent to a colleague if you like, or in this case to a shared mailbox too. So that could be quite good. You can also put do not deliver before if you wanted to delay the sending of it. So that's actually not a problem at all. So I can say reply to demos@McTish. And when I hit send, it should, once again, will prompt me to say that. And when Harmony gets that message, when she replies, it will not come back to me. It should go back to the demo email address. Once, if anything isn't making sense, or if you'd like me to show you something again, if you want to just pop a note into the chat window, and someone will just let me know that you're wanting me to show you something else, so that I can show that to you again if you like. Okay, emails. Now today, Outlook is used, and email in particular, is used quite extensively for asking people to do things. Hi, could you have a look at this, and attaching documents and asking you to review information. And email can become very overwhelming. You may miss an email, you may forget to do things. I'm that person. You ask me something in email, sometimes I forget. And one of the cool things you can do in Outlook is actually create a task from an email. Right. So if I have an email called, I'm just going to go here to this one. Now I've already got this. As you can see, I've got my little color coded piece here. Ronald asked to see the color option again. All right, Ronald, I'll cover that again right at the end if that's all right, to categorize by colors. I'll get onto that as soon as I've finished some of the other things. No problem at all. So creating a task from an email, if this was Nathan's asking me to do something critically important that I'm sure I'm going to forget about. If you have a look in your ribbon, once you've got your email highlighted, in your ribbon here, you have a couple of things you can do. You can create a task from that email. You can create an appointment or a meeting from it as well. Again, this is one of the things like Jumplist. I know it's there. I just often forget that I can use that. So if I wanted to create a task that Nathan wanted me to do, I would click on task and it would come up. Well, look what the awesome thing that it does. It shows you the email that you're creating the task from. You can change the date and the status. Like obviously I haven't started it yet. You can give it a longer subject if you wanted. You can set yourself a reminder. All these things carry because it was already in your email. And sometimes it's good to have the email to refer to instead of trying to trawl through the hundreds of emails trying to find out what it was you were asked to do exactly. So that, if I'm just going to tag that saying that Nathan's asked me to do something and I'm going to save it. It puts it in my task. There we go. Immediately, because I didn't set any times, it's actually reminded me, just by the way, you have a task to do today. All right. And here's my task list. If you look down the bottom left-hand corner of Outlook, I've just hovered over my tasks and there you can see it. It's got my test. If I wanted to go into it, I can hover over it. It'll tell me what it is I had. So if you've got a lot of information attached to that task, it will actually show it to you, so you don't have to try and remember it. So I find that that's actually pretty powerful. So if I go click on my task list, if I go into here, I can now up in my top task list say mark as complete, if you look in my ribbon, or I can remove it. So this is a cool thing. If you do it by accident and go, actually, no, that's not what I meant to give myself a task for, you can remove it. If you've actually done whatever the task is to remind you, you can mark it as complete. I'm going to remove it and come back to my mailbox. Here we are. It still kept it in my inbox. You can file that away. Like at the moment, that email was transferred to SharePoint because it's part of a demo we've done before. But you can actually save that somewhere if you wanted to as well. But it will hold the email in your task list if you have given yourself a task from it. The other thing you can do is, if you don't want to come up here and click on task, if you're a drag and drop person, I'm kind of like that as well. I can hold down my email and drag it to task. Gives you the exact same experience. It doesn't actually give you, as you can see, the email as an email message, but it actually drags the entire email's content and puts it in there. That might work better for you if you have a lot of instruction given to you in an email. You click on the task and immediately you don't have to find the email that it refers to. It's actually embedded the content inside your task. I hope that makes sense the way I've said that. That's a really easy way to be able to see everything that Nathan has asked me to do. In this case, nothing, but that's awesome because, you know, that's great. I can delete that task from here if I like, which I'm going to. Yes. Okay. Sometimes using tasks can be you can be a bit concerned you might end up losing what your tasks are, or being able to find everything. Now, this is a demo mailbox, so I don't have a lot of content in there, which is pretty cool. But you can also create a filter, which is up the top here in the top right hand of my Outlook box here. Up the top here, you can see here. All right, I have a filter email. So if you have used flags, if you have used categories, for instance, you can then, you can say filter email. Now we know we've got a transfer to SharePoint there. So if I say filter my email only by this category, it will go look through my email. Oh, that's different. Did I delete that? It normally just keeps it there for me. Transfer to SharePoint. I think when I deleted my task, it may have done something a little bit weird to me. Let's just go by flag for a minute. Filter my email by flagged. So what it should do is, I hope it's going to find my flag now. Oh, hang on. Let's just look on the server. Maybe it's because it's sitting on the server. No. I'm just going to say this out here. Nathan, can you have a look at that for me when we get off here? I just want to see if it's got to do with my demo mailbox. I'm just going to come into my Michelle mailbox for a minute, go into here and do it on there. I'm going to give this a flag, filter by my flagged. Now that should show me Florin. Let's see if it does. Oh, sorry, I got an email in between. Here we are. Oh, it's showing me my one thing that I have flagged. Oh, here's my other flag meeting here. This does work. I've just got a feeling my 365 is just playing up with me a little bit today. It's yeah, it's not actually doing it the way it normally does. So apologies for that. What it does normally do, it will actually get rid of all the information that's contained, if I just have a look at this one, in your mailbox and only show you the flagged or the color. So I'll have a play with that and I'll figure out why it's not picking that up today. It was doing it perfectly last week, but isn't that the nature of anything in a demo environment? Sorry about that. And I know it worked because I tested it. So it does actually work generally very well. You can also filter your email by week or whether it's got an attachment. Depending on your view, this view that I've got in Outlook at the moment is a very simple view. If you've got a view that's actually got the columns in for attachment or it's got the columns in for flag, you can actually do it very similarly to like you do in Excel, which is where you click on the flag and it will actually filter by all the flags, like in Excel when you can filter your content. It works very, very similar. It also will show you items expiring soon. So if you have got a retention policy on your Outlook email, some people do have, and we don't on this environment we're using at the moment, it will actually show you what's expiring. Some people use that. I don't, but it can be quite good if it is something that you have identified as part of a business need that you have. All right, so let's pretend I'm going on holiday now after this demo because I need a break, which would be fantastic. One of the cool things you can do again in Outlook is delegate access to your mail and to your calendar. Now, you don't have to give someone your password. You don't have to do any of that. What you can do is actually delegate your access up the top here. So if you have a look at the top left-hand corner in Outlook under File, and if I go into Account Settings, I can select here, Delegate Access. So if I click on this, now you would see it'll tell you what they can do, and you can actually, if I go Add, I'm going to give my access to Harmony. Oh, again with an E, moment please, there it is, Harmony, and say OK. There we go. Some people have a fear of giving your delegating access to your calendar or your email because they go, yeah, but I don't want them sending or deleting things because I still need to be aware of what's happening when I come back. I'd like to just know that they can do specific things and not delete. And this is where permissions are really cool. In the calendar, if you say, I'm going to give them access to my calendar, you can then say they can read and create. They can read the items in my calendar, or they can do everything. Or you can say none. I don't want them to see my calendar. I only need them to handle my mail. So you can change that. If I go into the inbox, for instance, same sort of permissions. They can read and create. They can read, create, and modify. So you can give people access to as much or as little. You can also say whether they can see your private items. So if you use the private tag in your email or in your Outlook calendar, for instance, they won't see that, which is fine. You might have like doctor's appointments, for instance, that you don't really want anyone to see that you're going to the doctor. You can use that so they couldn't see what those are. And you can also send messages to the person that you're giving the permission to, summarizing what they've been given permission to. So that's quite important sometimes, because if you are giving your delegate permissions to somebody and your boss goes to them and says, can you do X, Y, Z because Michelle could do it? You'll actually be able to say, well, no, because I only have this amount of permission to do anything on the mailbox. So that gives them a good idea of what they are able to do, whether they can just reply or accept invitations. You can give them as much or as little as you like, but that can be quite handy when you go away, so that people still have some visibility of if emails are coming into your mailbox that do need to be handled, for instance, especially with projects, or your role might have a lot of external touch points to clients. That way you won't lose anything, and people won't be waiting 2 weeks for a reply, which is good. All right, let's get rid of that for a minute. Now, one of the other ones, and this is one that I found, it's an oldie but a goodie, and I found it and I went, oh, I wish I'd known about this ages ago. And it's the ability to remove email contacts. All right. So if I'm in here and I type the word, right, if I type the word McTish, as you can see, I have 3 McTish emails in there. If you send a lot of emails to people, externally, especially externally, it tends to be one that catches a lot of people. If you send emails to someone now, I don't think I've got, look at all the M's I've got in here. I've got McTish, I've got Michelle, I've got a couple of other people. How often have you accidentally just typed in the word Michelle, expecting it will just pick on me, and it ends up going to a different Michelle that you've only emailed once because they asked a question? Internally or externally, it doesn't actually matter. Awesome thing about having this is if I come down to here and see my X, I can get rid of the email. It will never appear again. Now, I know it's a simple thing, but believe me when I tell you that it has saved so many errors on my side. Before I had InMailX, for instance, that it would say to me, are you sure you want to send this to this person? Because you go type, hit send, and it goes off to the wrong person. So this is, and it's a simple thing, as I said. If you type something in, and I pick that one, let's see if I've got anything else. No. There we go. I've got a couple of S's in here. If I didn't want to have, I'll get rid of that one. I can delete it. As simple as not sending something to the wrong person by accident. As I said, I don't have that anymore. I have InMailX on my machine, so I don't really get that, which is great. Okay, one of the other quick things, I'll go through a couple of things to show you. No. Okay. Is quick parts and templates. So if you respond to emails with the same piece of information all the time, you can use quick parts to add information to an email. Now, what is that? Now, it's like a template, it really is, but it might be just a really quick piece of information that you can add. If I type in here, right, create an email, type the content into the message, whatever it might be, you can highlight that. And on the insert tab, so I'm just going to show that, go insert. I have up the top here under text, I'll just hover my mouse over it so you can see where I am. I have quick parts, and I can go save selection to the quick part gallery. Where this can be pretty good is if you have, as I said, the same piece of information that you need to put in an email all the time. You may have it saved in Word and you copy and paste it in all the time. This is a really quick way of doing it. If I go save selection to the gallery, you can call it obviously something better than Michelle showing. In the quick part gallery, you can give it a category even, but it will always save that piece consistently into your email by creating what they call a quick part. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what happens if I send out a weekly or a monthly report that has that same basic information? Does that mean that's what I would do? I would create this and insert a quick part? Well, no, what you can do, if that's a requirement, is you can create an email and go File, Save As. And what you can do is if you drop this down here, you can create something in what they call an Outlook template file, which is OFT. what that does, it create, especially if it's a report, if you've got a report that you generate all the time, create it as a template and then you can save it. Now, I'm going through all these things, and if you're making notes furiously, that's great. I actually have documented a lot of this. So right at the end of the webinar, if you've registered, we'll probably be sending you the document that covers what a lot of this is, so you don't have to try and remember it. This one's pretty good. If you want to use it though, so if I'd saved that as a message, whenever you want to use it, sorry, I'm just going to cancel that out for a minute. You actually have to go and choose it from the system. What Outlook does, it will save that template into a custom Office template location. So when you go, I want to use this location, it will actually go to the only place it ever stores anything. Never change that. It's always, as long as it's in that spot, Outlook, Word, any of those systems will actually go back and to that exact same spot and find it. Okay, so you don't have to worry that you have to remember where you've saved it. One of the other, someone's asked a question, can that template be shared with others? Yes, it's an OFT file. You can insert, you can actually just attach that to an email and send it to them. They would then have to save the file in the same system. That's Kay was asking that question. So if they receive that as an attachment, when they go file save as, because it's an OFT file, it will actually go and save it in the same spot. Just bear in mind though that if you update your template, it won't update theirs automatically. You'd probably just have to resave that, if that makes sense, Kate. All right, just leave this open for a minute. So there's a couple of other things, quick step versus a rule. So what is the difference between a rule and a quick step? So quick steps are flexible, so you can choose to apply them wherever you want to use them. So if you're writing an email, you can actually just go and add a quick step and it adds it in there. Rules are less flexible. So once they're set up, they are applied automatically. So let me just show you the difference. So rules provide options to automatically handle messages as they arrive. So if you're on home and if you have a look under move, here they are here, there's rules. So you can set up something that says always move messages from me into the very important folder, which is obviously where you'd want to keep anything that I send you, or anything that comes from McTish Demo, which is probably what Harmony would use now when I start bombarding her with all my demo emails. Anything with McTish Demo, move to a demo file. It will always move them there. It will always show you that you have mail in that folder. So if you have a look at my inbox here on the left, it says 3. If you have a folder, it will actually, if called like McTish Demo, it will show you that folder has a message in it. Once you create a rule, you can actually then run the rule over your entire mailbox to say anything in here that matches that rule, please move it across, all right? So a quick step is what I kind of showed you before, where you can create a task, appointment, or a meeting very, very quickly from here. So Nathan, quick step meeting. So some people get the quick step and the rules a little bit confused. So I'm just showing you the difference here. Here's my quick step. Here's my start time. Clearly, I don't want to have another meeting today. I've attached the Outlook item and hit send. That is what a quick step does. And a rule, as I said, can actually start moving your email around your mailbox a little bit better. I don't want to save my changes, and I'm out. Okay. Is there a way? Natalie's asked, is there a way to set the default? Sorry, Natalie. Choose form option to user templates. There probably is. I can't tell you off the top of my head what it is. I'll just have a look and see what I can find for you, and we'll get a reply through to you after the webinar. Okay. Saving emails to OneNote. Now, if you use OneNote, and people who use OneNote love it, all right? They do. They go, I love it. It's the best thing ever. I never want to see paper again. Take all your paper and pencils away. I'm on the fence. I like it and I don't. So I like having paper and I like having OneNote. So it depends how you want to use it. Cool thing, again, Outlook and Microsoft all working together. Here's my email, and right up the top here, if you look on the top of my ribbon, on the right-hand side is OneNote. Click on OneNote. send to OneNote. It will send that message to OneNote. Really good if you use OneNote a lot and you want to keep all your emails and your trail in one place, you can actually move it and save it into OneNote, which is good. Okay, so I save that to OneNote. If I click on it, it'll probably open it. There we are. If you've got a lot of different notebooks, which I have, you can select to save it into a notebook that you already have. Okay. So if you use it, you might be very happy to see that, or you'll go, well, I already knew about it and I didn't, so there you go. All right, just last but not least, just in Outlook, some specific Outlook stuff before I just show you some in Mailbox things is accessibility. There are ways to help make Outlook a lot more accessible, and one of which is up the top here. If you look on my ribbon, which is called dictation. All right. Dictation is if you have an email open and you click on dictation, you can read your email to, you can actually dictate an email. So if I just come out for a second, create a new email, I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to show it to you. Hi, new line. Wait. Okay, so it's got me laughing. And I'm sure you can see that it picks up what I'm saying. New line. New line. Thanks for watching. New line. Now I've manually started it and manually stopped it. There are ways of making that turn on using your voice and turn off using your voice and send. If you like that, go and have a look online. There's some great information about how dictation works as for an email. I'm very big on accessibility, so I really, really like this feature, even that it's got my laughing in it, which is awesome. One of the other things you can do is also check if your email is accessible to on-screen readers. Now that may affect some of you, but it's pretty good to be able to check that. And that is under review, check accessibility. It's built in, right? It is built into Outlook. You can check whether it's accessible. If you have a look on the side here, what this has done, it's picked up that there are image errors, which is all of these images here. We haven't got alt tags on them. And that's interesting because now it's something that we've noticed and we will start doing that, which means that a screen reader, if any of you have experience with that, what it will do, it will read the image. So this, for instance, would say logo McTish, logo Facebook, logo Twitter, logo LinkedIn. An absolutely awesome feature. I do think it's quite great. Okay, get out of here. I'm not saving anything. Now, just to show some of the one of the other things we've got, efficiencies in Outlook with InMailX. So we use InMailX at McTish to manage a lot of our emails, our categorizing, saving things as records, for instance. It's a very, very powerful email tool. The ability to some of the absolutely cool things. So if I'm in here with my attachment, for instance, if I'm just going to open that, I'm going to forward this. Now I'm forwarding this to someone from InMailX, just so you can actually see what it's doing. I'll just drop this down a minute. I'm going to say it's from me. All right. I've got an attachment. I'm sending it out. So when I hit send, now please bear with me on this. I upgraded InMailX 5 minutes before we did the webinar. We were confident it was working, weren't we, Florin? Right, it is awesome. So when I hit send, it comes up with a bit of a send guide. Now, it asks me to confirm, do I want to send this to this person who is external to the company? You can turn this on or off for internal. So you can say anything that's internal, just send it, I'm happy. But you can prompt here, say, well, it's going outside the company. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. Do you want to confirm that this is the attachment you're sending? And I can right click on here and go, well, let me double check it from within the map, which is awesome. Open it or go, not really sure, remove, or go, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to hit OK. Right? This is where InMailX is really cool. This is one of the best things. I love this feature. If you're sending documents for someone else to edit, you can just hit send and off it goes. If you want to do, there's a couple of things here you can do. Clean and send. What clean does, it removes all all the personal metadata about the company, the author, who created it, who sent it, all that sort of information. That's what Clean and Send does. If I hit Clean and Send, it removes document properties, any of the custom properties, any track changes. Now, if you use track changes, you know how hard that can be sometimes to remove. So it can actually clean up as much or as little as you like when you send it. Now, I find that pretty amazing, all right? So if I just hit cancel for a minute, I'm going to hit send again, confirming and saying okay. I can PDF this and review it, or I can just PDF it and send it, okay? One of the other things you can do is you can actually rename. Now, if I go here for a minute, see up the top of my ribbon, under message, I have here with my attachments, two things. One is protect. This is a new feature. It allows you to protect this email that you sent, pardon me, this attachment with a password. So remember how we had a delegated email before? Let's say I am sending this email to Florin. Florin is sharing his mailbox with somebody, but he knows that a confidential file may be coming in. For instance, if I put a password on this and they don't know, the delegated person, what that password is, they won't be able to open the attachment and do anything with the mail. Really powerful, especially if you don't know who's got access to the mailbox. So you can protect it. That's what protect does, gives it a password, or you can rename it. Renaming is really cool because you might have a very specific naming convention in your company, you know, or you may have, like this is just called file plan import. This makes no sense to anyone, so but except for me. I can now type in something. It is changing the name of my attachment. If I say okay, done. You haven't lost the file. You just renamed what the file is called as the attachment. Your file is still called the same thing wherever you've saved it. This is just the way someone else is going to see it. That is absolutely fantastic. You can, if you wanted to, as you're sending this. Now I'm hoping, sorry, this has got a lot of other things happening there. If you were sending this out and you wanted to send and file, drop this down. I can send and file, send and quick file. So I can save it to, now as you can see, I've got a lot of folders in my own personal inbox for Michelle, but I'm going to save this into my webinar, right? That's for me, my own folder. InMailX allows you to save to other locations. I'm just going to confirm that and say okay. I'm going to PDF and send it, all right? And it's going to ask me, are you sure this is what you're wanting to do? Yes, it is. I'm fine. And I'd say okay. It's processing it. And once it's sent, it's actually kind of come back and say to me, where do you want to file it? If you use SharePoint, which we do, as you can see on the screen, it is converting it in front of your eyes to a PDF and sending it out. So you can actually see how it's starting to process it. We use SharePoint. I like to be able to save some information into SharePoint, especially if it's quite important. I can then have this, which is one of the things that we do use quite a lot. Now, I've got favorites, but I don't really want to save it. And you've got favorites up the top where you can file to all the time. If I come down into here, it may take a little while. It will let me save it in there. Now, if you have a look, here's my original email that I had. I then forwarded it to Flora. Now, here's my original email that actually had the attachment in the way it was sent to me. And when I've put it into, I think I sent it, I'm not sure if I sent it from here. No, I think I sent it from my own mailbox, which would be in here. Right, I've sent it to Florin and it has got the PDF version. Now, someone's asked a question that may end up with Florin. So if you can give me a second, and let's see who's asking that. Ben, just give us a second and I'll get back to you on that question. I'll get Florin maybe to answer that, okay? Let's have a look. Just trying to think of, I think I've shown you all the, look, InMailX is, it can do there is so much that it can do. I've just shown you some of the things it can do. So one of the things, if you've got a whole pile of attachments, if I just look at this email, for instance, if I was going to send those attachments out and I wanted them read in a certain order, I can actually set that up to say, show these attachments in this order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so people get them a specific way and read them the way they've come. You can compress attachments into a zip as you send it. If I was forwarding that, up the top here, see under our attachments, compress all my attachments to a zip file. So all on the fly, all from within Outlook, and all using what the InMailX add-in does. So if you're liking to sort of keep everything in the central location like Outlook, really, really powerful. It's simple, it's very efficient, it's pretty flexible in being able to enable you to do work. It's only one add-in that allows you to do a lot of things, so we use that a little bit here as well, as you can see. All right, so Florin, I'm just going to give you the question from Ben, which is, what is the value of PDF of a document? PDFs can be pulled apart. And I can say to that, Ben, yes, if your password anything can be pulled apart, whether it's a Word document or not, but you can put restrictions on a PDF that will disable that. Florin, did you want to say anything to that, perhaps?
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Michelle. When you if you can open the PDF window, so if you actually forward an attachment, and I'll just guide you quickly. So there is an option when you convert to PDF to apply restrictions, so that to disable modifying or copying information from the document itself. So if you forward one of the emails with the PDF.
Yep, sure, I'll do that. Yeah, hang on, forward. An already PDF'd one, Florin?
Doesn't matter, PDF or non-PDF.
Okay, I'm going to forward this. Yep, I'll forward it to you again.
So if you click on the PDF button to convert it to PDF,
even though it's already
so you'll
PDF,
notice that there is an option there for security. So you can actually click on the security tab, and then you have an option to apply password restrictions, and then you have an option to disable printing, copying, modifying comments. So people can't actually copy and paste information from that PDF, even though it is a PDF file type.
Does that help answer your question, Ben? Hopefully. If not, and if you have something else, feel free to let us know, and we'll get some more answers for you on that. But thanks for that, Florin. That's great. I did forget to show that piece. That's fantastic. Thanks. All right, I'm just going to discard that. All right, so now that is the important Outlook inverted commas things that I'm showing you. What I'm also going to show you is it's something I played with because I found it and I thought it was great. So if I have a look at here, and this is just a fun one. If you want to translate a message, I loved it. I thought it was great. I don't have a requirement for it at all, but I really like showing some things that's cool sometimes. If I'm highlighting a message and I want to translate it, if I click on translate, Florin, what's your native language? What other language do you speak?
Romanian or German?
Sorry? German.
German.
Right.
You can try German or Romanian.
We'll do German, shall we? German. There you go. Now, I know this may not, some of you may look at this, I never need it, but I can tell you I had great fun playing with this because I know some languages and I was very happy to translate things into a different language. It's not bad in how it translates a message, I'll be very honest. It's built, there is a translation built into Outlook as well already, but that's the one that, translated to any language. Seriously, you can go and just play. I just played with it just to see. I don't know anyone who speaks Finnish. I didn't know anyone who spoke Icelandic, but I just did it to see how it did it. And, sometimes I just found it fun. It may not be fun, but I did. I thought that was pretty cool. You never know when you may find a need for translating a message. Now, there are some other cool links, etc., that I found for Outlook and for Microsoft specifically. This is one. So this is the like the App Store for Microsoft. It generally, a lot of the stuff in here is free, and it is to do things like the dictate, for instance. I went and found that in here because it wasn't built into my Office 365, my Outlook, for instance. So if I only wanted to find anything by Office 365, I can, these are just apps that add on to it. If you use Jira, for instance, in your business, there is an Outlook app for Jira that enables you to put your Outlook workflows into Jira as well. If you use Adobe Sign, you can actually add that in, or your Office 365. It has an app for it. So if you already have it, for instance. There are so many things. If you use Nintex, you can actually tag templates using your Nintex document tagger in Word. So that's going out into all the different applications. If I just wanted to look at Outlook, this is where I would filter, and this is where you would find things. So here's my translator for Outlook. I actually added that one, even though there is one in Outlook. I just added this one in because they're exactly the same. It's just that this one pulled it up the way I like to see it. As you can see, all sorts of lovely things for Outlook. If you use Trello, how to create new cards on Trello boards without leaving Outlook. There are so many ways of integrating your Outlook with the actual apps that you may use. Okay. One of the other cool spots that Microsoft has is called Garage. So if you just have a look at that, I know I've gone a little bit over time. This will be one of the last ones I'll probably show you. These little links are actually going to be embedded in the document, so you can go and have a look. What Garage projects are, if you come down and have a look. Here are some of the cool things that they've done. Again, all free, all integrated into Outlook and Office 365. It's just about, I suppose, they have hackathons, and as you can see here, they have hackathons where they create things. One of the cool things they created out of hackathon was Dictate. Dictate came out of a big hackathon a couple of years ago for accessibility. So these two links, there's a couple others that are in the document that you'll be able to get at the end. And you'll be able to go and, you know, probably drive your IT people crazy because you want to add in some cool things, or perhaps they'll be quite happy that you want to add some cool things as well. I don't think I've got any more, no more messages or questions. Ronald, did you, because I'm sending the document out at the end, perhaps you want to have just wait till you get the color option then and have a look at that. I mean, I can just quickly show you the categories in Outlook if you like, but they will be in detail in the document as well. So that's Ronald who joined a little bit earlier. That is here, Ronald, under categories. Here's your colors. You can set your colors to match projects, for instance. These ones are ones that we've already got built into our Outlook, or my Outlook, for instance. You can rename the colors so that they make sense to you, like this one is printed or whatever. You can make the purple one match a project color that you like, but we just talk about where that is and how to set it up in the document, so that'll probably help you, but that's the one way of doing it. Here's an email over here. If you come and have a look, that has been transferred to SharePoint. It's already picked up one of my colors. You can actually turn on a column in your view. I should have told everybody this. That will actually show you things by category that you already have. And on that note, everyone, I think I'm done. I hope you've learned something. I hope at least one thing was informative for you. So just to go back to here and switch my desktops, if you just hold on a second, because I've got two. If you have any questions, and we also have a limited time offer as part of this webinar, which was 25% off all licenses on InmailX. So that's valid till the 30th of September. If you have any requirements for that, just contact Val. As you can see his lovely smiling face down the bottom here. Give Val a holler out, and he can then get in touch with the guys at InmailX and you know, get you on board and get you all working. So I hope you've learned a lot today with some of the Outlook things. If you've got some cool features and you want to send me what they are and I can add them to my list, that'd be great. But thanks everybody for attending, and we'll see you next time.